what job would you do if you were not paid any money? Abundance comes by giving, not hoarding. Because when we give, we also realize how much actually we do have.
Nobody is really self-made. Everybody has had help from other people.
Life is a journey of eternal humbling.
Hi, my name is Amrut. We've heard that IIT Madras is the best place to build. So we've come down to the Sudha & Shankar Innovation Hub. We want to meet some people. These are builders. We want to talk to them about their work and also ask them what makes IIT Madras the best place to build. Hi, welcome to the Best Place to Build podcast. I'm Amrut. I'm sitting with Sriram, a friend of mine from more than 20 years, also known as Keki. He was a student here at IIT Madras from 2003 to 7, computer science batch. Joined McKinsey, which was at the time the top job off campus, and later studied again at the Kennedy School for Government at Harvard. Today runs the Amaidhi School for Transformation. Welcome, Sriram.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Lots to cover.
Yeah.
Um,
May I begin with a question?
okay.
When you asked me to come to this podcast, honestly, the first question that came up was, why is he asking me to be on this podcast? Because this is about best place to build. And I've usually thought of building and this podcast to be about entrepreneurship. So why did you ask me to be here?
Fair enough. I mean, when you hear the word build, people think of bridges, cars, robots, and maybe today AI foundational models. But we have been trying to promote this idea that the word build is a little more broad based. We do talk about building ourselves, building our network, our resilience, our mindsets, our attitudes. And I think your work in that area has been quite significant. Yeah. Is that a satisfactory answer?
Yeah, it is. It is. It is.
I feel like we should start with this. You were at IIT Madras Computer Science and later at McKinsey and later at Kennedy School of Government. All these places, people who walk through them, there's some expectations that you will come out and do something, and you've almost always defied the expectations. Contrarian decision. So I want to ask you, doesn't that take a lot of confidence? And aren't you taking a lot of risk? Like, how did you get through the distance where 3 times in your life you've taken a very different decision than what people would have expected you to?
Yeah, you're right. It takes some level of knowing oneself and being curious about what it is that I want at each stage. I remember when I got into IIT, the vision was very clear in my head. Go to the US, do a master's, work somewhere for 2 years, do an MBA, and become a CEO by 35. And
Also, for additional context, your brother was also in IIT Madras.
he was.
And your rank was 51.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. It was. His rank was 22.
Is it? That's amazing. Okay.
So I always had this image coming into IIT that I'd go down the tech path and then go into management and then become a CEO. And yes, you're right. Actually, this morning when you pointed out the pattern to me is when it became clear in that kind of language, which is each of these places has a set path, and I've done almost exactly the opposite. I suppose the work that I've been doing and I am doing right now has been calling me. It's been calling me from within for a long time, and each place was just another test bed to discover and convince myself that this is actually what I really want to do, which is help people through the work of inner development and self transformation.
Can we take a pause there? Can you just explain to us the work you do now so that everybody has context?
Sure. So the work I do today is, you could call it inner transformation. It is helping an individual find their true self, find their full potential, and then, as one of our alums, Deepak Jayaraman, says, play to that potential. Um, it's it's about understanding what comes in the way of me pursuing my dreams. Often, for some people, it's something to do with the mind. Either we are anxious, busy, stressed, undecided, lot of self doubt, and that comes in the way of taking a big decision and taking that leap forward. For some people, it's an interpersonal challenge. I want to be a leader, I want to work with many people, but I get triggered or I struggle to inspire people or motivate people. And for so the challenges may be quite diverse and widespread. The core is helping a person and understand what the challenges in the way of that are and how do I overcome those challenges. How do I play to my full potential? That's the core work. It obviously has application in the corporate world where I work with founders, CEOs, leaders of companies. Also in the student community, because students are struggling with mental health challenges, a lot of pressure of expectation,
Yeah.
like you mentioned. And then in outside of all of this, in relationships, if I want to make a career shift, has wide application. So that's the work that I do today.
Okay. All of this broadly under the idea of inner transformation, building yourself and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I'd say inner healing and inner transformation. And by the word healing, we're simply saying there are some things that have happened to me in my past, the weight, the burden of which I still carry somewhere within me. And how do I let go of that? How do I heal that? Just like if you had a wound on the skin, and over time the skin binds itself and heals and becomes whole again. Same thing with the personality. You go through a difficult moment in your life, something happens, there's a tear, a fracture line in your personality. How do we help that become whole and heal again? And then how do we move into
Nice.
transformation?
So cool. So you were saying that we were talking about contrarian decisions, about how you go to a place,
Yeah.
and especially I think when people enter IIT, because IITs were set up for nation transformation by Nehru, and then you walk in and you're like almost given this burden that, okay, now you're going to change the world, you're going to change your community or your family and build the nation and so on. So there's like a expectation right from the beginning, right? And I guess what does it take to make those contrarian decisions, saying that, you know what, this I'm not going to take this path, but I'm going to find myself here, take a different path?
I'd say two things. The first is shifting attention from being entirely focused on the outer world to inward attention. Being curious about what gives me joy, what makes me excited. As one of my mentors, he asks a question: what job would you do if you were not paid any money to do it? So, looking for what energizes you from inside so that it's not just something on the outside that's motivating me. That's one aspect, shifting from outward attention to inward. And the second is the supportive ecosystem that this shift is happening in. In my case, parents, long before the JEE, had given me the permission and license to say, yeah, you seem to be doing well, you seem to be focused on your academic efforts, which was important to them. And once that became clear, they stepped back and gave me the space to discover what I wanted to do. And they've always supported, elder brother included, always supported what I've wanted to do. So I'd say those two, support and inward attention.
Sure. As you're saying it, I feel like sometimes I've interacted with students now, and first of all, there's a lot of peer pressure. Uh, and a lot of students come through the JEE coaching system, so the pressure actually starts
Much
2,
earlier.
3, 4 years earlier. And even within campus, I've heard students talk about how they're under pressure from their parents to get a more paying job. Of course, the paid variations on campus are quite high. Like somebody may get a 1 crore offer, somebody may get a 20 lakh offer, somebody may get or somebody joining a startup is probably making much lesser in promise of future gain, but whatever it is at that time. So Yeah, a lot of depression on campus. So I really relate with what you're saying. In this regard, I think you've done a lot of work with your colleagues on this course called Happiness, Success, and Habits. Is that what it's called?
Happiness, habits, and
Okay.
success.
Can you tell us what it is?
Yeah. And before we come to the course, I want to expand on what you just said. The the pressure of, and we were speaking about it earlier, this twofold pressure that students go through, which is before the final competitive exams that move students from 12th standard to college, the pressure of rank. Having a great rank, making the cutoff.
Yeah.
It's a huge pressure. I can even feel it on my shoulders building up as I speak about it. And then once you cross and you've successfully crossed that milestone, it becomes the pressure of pay. And so well intentioned by parents. We want our children to succeed, to thrive, to be taken care of. We've come from the worldview that money is significant, and it is significant, but we've probably come from the worldview that we need a lot of it to be safe and happy and healthy. So that pressure of rank and the pressure of pay, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming for a student who's not had that break at all. And I remember when we finished our JE at 5:30 p.m. at the end of that third paper, putting my pen down and saying, "Man, I'm done taking pressure for some external goal, external milestone in my life." Um, it's a significant pressure. A study that was done, I think 6-7 years ago in Harvard, there was a task force set up for mental health. They discovered that about 20 to 30% of undergrad students self-report depression or feeling depressed. Uh, 20 to 30% report feeling anxious throughout their time on campus. This is probably true of every engineering college today because of this twofold pressure.
Yeah. And can I just add that the AI era has exploded this because a lot of jobs are changing, and you may be in a field where you're not even sure if I graduate what I'm going to do. So it's only increasing.
Yeah, it's only increasing, and often as a student, you're going through it alone on campus. That's the perceived experience of it, that my parents, my family are now away, and here I am on campus, and I don't know whom to lean on, uh, who my friends are, who my community is. So, for this twofold reason, I would say, of pressure on campus and loneliness in campus, this set up the foundation for why we started the course, Happiness, Habits, and Success, to help give students a foundational understanding of what happiness means and what success means. And to find the habits and cultivate the habits that can make you both happy and productive at the same time. Again, research shows that the more positive minded you are, the more of a positive outlook you have, the more likely you are to perform and outperform your peers. Salesmen who had a positive outlook outperform peers by a significant percentage. Doctors who are optimistic treat patients significantly better than pessimistic doctors. So, that's the core idea, to tell students that there is a way to succeed beyond expectation, and that can also be a joyful journey. And that can be done in the company of peers and family and a support network.
Actually, as you're saying it, I'm thinking when you start your JE coaching, you obviously think you're going to get a really good rank, and then the process starts, right? So there's some humbling that happens through. And then when you start your IIT journey on day one, you're looking at your peers. I'm like, I'm going to beat all of them. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to get like the best admit or the best pay outcome. And then again, one humbling happens. And then even after, when you, I think the pressure that many of us have gone through, we carry it through to our workplaces well into our 30s and 40s, right? It's interesting how you're describing it. So what does the course actually entail? Like, is it a semester long? Is it like, can you tell us the mechanics of the course?
Sure. As I hear you, what comes up is, students, Life is a journey of eternal humbling. I remember same when I came to IIT, I thought I was the cat's whiskers. Uh, doesn't help if we come in with a high rank and then we meet our peers,
Yeah.
peers that we've been with. I went to Harvard. I thought definitely the cat's whiskers here.
Yeah.
Just absolutely humbled by the phenomenal capacity, potential of peers there. And then coming to McKinsey, definitely the cat's whiskers here. And again, such inspiring people, such humble, inspiring people who are doing such great things. Not only when my peer consultants back then, but also the clients that we were serving, leaders and owners of large businesses.
Yeah.
So humble, so simple. So, yes, life is a journey of eternal humbling. The mechanics of the course. It's a semester long course. It's come together through the efforts of several alum, and it's one of the things I absolutely love about IIT Madras. I think someone asked me sometime back, how is it that you guys have such a thriving alum network in IIT Madras? I don't know the answer. It's probably because of people like you and the great contributions you are making.
All of us.
All of us. Uh, so many alums have come together to create the course, shape it, evolve it, and deliver it. In fact, today the course is delivered by several part-time facilitators who are contributing their time and attention to make this happen. It's also funded in part by alum who resourced and provided resources to run the course. And the construct, we have close to a bench, if you may call it, of 20, 25 plus facilitators. At any point in a semester, we are running 6 to 10 batches in parallel, each of which have anywhere between 40 to 200 students within a batch.
So there's like 600 students taking this course.
Every semester.
Okay.
600 students on campus every semester going through this course. And students enjoy it, we enjoy it. It is a course on happiness. So that's the construct. It's a 3 credit or a 9 credit course in our current times.
Okay. Because the
Credit system
credits have changed.
What
So
used to be a 3 credit course for us is today a 9 credit course. So it's a 9 credit course and very focused on experiential learning. So we're not covering so much the theory of exercise or the theory of happiness. We're actually getting students to do the activities that lead to better
Can you give me
health,
one example?
better happiness. So I'll give you two. In one class, we teach the benefits of exercise. Students are asked to come dressed in tracks and shoes for that class. And before we begin the class, we go out in campus to do stretches or a run or cycle for 20-30 minutes until our heart rate has built up to a point that's defined as exercise activity. And then students come back, they're all sweating and we're back in our seats, sweaty, smelly room after that. And then we ask them, how are you feeling? How are you feeling after physically exerting yourself to a healthy point for 20-30 minutes? And they've got it. You don't even need to run the theory after that anymore. So that's one example, teaching exercise through actually doing it and then covering the benefits of exercise as we learn from research in neuroscience. Uh, and so that's one example. The other, which I really love, which we've evolved over the time, we teach a module on gratitude, of just being grateful to yourself and to others for all that we have received. Otherwise, the pressure of rank and the pressure of pay can make us forget all that we have and be constantly looking at what we don't have, living a life of lack and not sufficiency. So, the module on gratitude, we get people to go and talk to their parents or a grandparent and ask them what are they grateful for at this stage in their life. Ask them about what their struggles have been and what their life journey has been. What are their beliefs on happiness and success? Students almost every single time come back and tell us, I'm so grateful that you made us do that, because I've lived with my grandparents, my parents all my life, and I've actually not found out what their journey was. And it's great to know that you don't need to come to a college to learn. You can be learning at home, you can be learning at work. Life is a journey of continuous learning. And your teachers are exactly wherever you are, there are 3, 4 teachers around you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, welling up.
If I may ask why?
No, just I think it's very emotional, and I'll also say this. In INSTI, or in any engineering college, I guess it may not be specific to INSTI. There's an expectation that you've come to learn, and there's a competitive atmosphere, and you have to do these courses, you have to excel at your skills. There's almost like a heavy focus on hard skills. Pick this up, pick that up, pick this up, pick that up. So it's very unique what you're doing, right? And I'm just going back and thinking of the kind of person I was in college, and I don't know if I like that person. Like, this, I don't know if you have the same experience, but you look back and you're like, why was I so competitive? Why was I so sort of? I think the word we use in Insta is RG,
Yeah.
right? Which for those of you who don't know, I mean, it's relative grading, because in a class the scores are given as percentages. So many percent can get an S, so many percent can get an A, and so on. So relative grading basically means that you may withhold information from a peer so that they get a lesser grade than you. Um, I think it's changed over campus a lot, but that's what it was in our time, right? So I'm just, uh, so the reason why I was welling up was just thinking of how little we at our times, I guess your course is one of those things that have changed the thing on campus now, but there was so much emphasis on engineering hard skills, very little on soft skills, right?
Very true. Very true. And two things come up. The first, I'll say, you said your course, I'd say our course. Just like you said, we are building this campus. Our course is one of a bouquet of courses. In fact, today IIT Madras offers a minor degree in PPD, personal and professional development, where if you've done some of the courses in the bouquet, you get a minor degree in PPD instead of some of the other hard disciplines, as you called it. First year students go through a course called the Life Skills course. It's a mandatory course on campus today. So all incoming fresher students, undergrad students, go through the Life Skills course. It's a semester long course again. There's the happiness course. There's a course on unlocking creativity. There's a course on nurturing relationships, enriching your relationships. And uh, we often find in the workplace, you and I may have experienced it. I've heard so many of our peers today talk about it, that students who come out of engineering colleges don't seem to be work ready.
Yeah.
And this whole PPD minor and the efforts to put in these courses.
By the way, that work ready doesn't mean skill wise, it means soft skill wise.
Soft skill wise.
Not able to work in a team, not able to take feedback.
Exactly.
Things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Soft skill ready at work. The PPD, personal and professional development minor at IIT, IIT Madras is unique in this. I don't know of a single other IIT campus. It may be my ignorance, but as far as I know, no other campus has a degree in personal development and professional development to help prepare students from a soft skills perspective to excel in the workplace. And as the saying goes, right? IQ gets you the job, EQ gets you the promotions.
Nice.
So,
But can I push you a bit on that? I mean, when we were on campus, I did say that we didn't have formal soft skill courses, but we had dramatics, we had Sarang Shastra, we did work together, we learned it on the go.
yeah.
And is it fair for parents and maybe administrators also to push back saying, hey, you join IIT to pick up this hard skills, the engineering,
Yeah.
and maybe the soft skills are your responsibility. You pick it up on your own, or you figure out how you're going to do it, or we put you in a residential campus, it will happen anyway. Is that a fair criticism?
Probably. I don't know. I don't know. So that perspective says that you came to an engineering college and we are teaching you the hard skills, figure the soft skills on your own. I think the challenge in this day and age is also the uh, pandemic of technology and having cell phones and devices. In our time, it was easy to do that because there was not a phone in our pockets to be looking at all the time.
Sure.
The organic soft skill development was well enabled because the way to spend time was to hang out with people, learn about opportunities, interests, go out and do them. Whereas today,
Fair. I
that's
remember these
changed.
long arguments we have had on campus, and the amount of like sort of like when you have a really long 6 hour, 8 hour long argument with someone on something, um, you learn a lot about your own arguing skills, your own patience, your own ability to form logic. I don't think people spend 6, 8 hours now because they're on their phones.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. So, in an age where student attention is and time is going so much into digital screens, we do need structured interventions and offerings that help them come out of that. And in fact, one of the biggest positive feedbacks we get from students who've gone through the HHS course. Even 2 weeks back, I did one-on-ones with students along with my peers for students going through this semester, and I asked them, what are you enjoying the most about the course? About half of them say the opportunity to interact with my peer student and find out what he or she is going through and know that I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I used to think that I'm the only one dealing with all of these pressures. And it's great to know that almost everyone is going through some of this. So we do need those structured offerings, in my view.
I want to add a little bit here,
Mm.
and this is my opinion. Sometimes what happens is that, like, if it's not the school's, maybe if you're going to a coaching kind of school, it's not the school's responsibility to teach you soft skills. And then it's definitely not the workplace's responsibility because you're going there to perform. So if everybody says it's not my responsibility to help you with soft skills, then whose responsibility is it? Like you've fallen through the gaps because nobody's taken that effort, right? And it's incidental. Sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. And so having a structured system at least helps everyone start thinking about it, right?
I agree. I was actually speaking with a few founders recently of a tech company, and I was telling them, why is it that parents put so much pressure on a student to get a high rank and get a high paying job? It's because their assumption is that once I get my kids into college and once they get a good job, they are no longer my responsibility. It's true, right? Like there's almost an unconscious assumption that I'm handing over my children now to the real world,
Okay.
to the workplace to be taken care of. And there's an implicit trust which is unspoken that this place that is taking my child now is going to take care of them in the same way as I am.
Yeah.
And that's not true. Like
Yeah, it's not
workplaces
true.
that, to your point, don't take on that responsibility of developing the persons who are coming in. So much pressure, the pressure continues to build up. We hear about mental health situations, sometimes extreme, even in that world. So I was sharing with these founders that it is the workplace's responsibility to help people also become healthier, happier, while contributing to the success and profits of the organization.
That's amazing. I read this article which spoke about this change in the nature of employee-employer relationship. 20, 30 years back, the employer was considered like, I'm going here to spend a lot of time and there will be like, I will join a family or something like that. Today, it's like, I'm going here for a 2-year mission. We are with my colleagues, I'm going to fight some war. I mean, not real war, but like some corporate war. And then after that, I will go join some other mission in some other company, and then is another 2 years. So it's become very sort of like we are here together now, but it's almost implicit that me and my colleagues are going to see each other only for 2 years, and then I will move and he will move
Mm.
or she will move or something, right? So, yeah, nature of workplace transactions.
Yeah, and if that is the new reality, and for whatever reason it's helping the global ecosystem right now to organize that way, I would say workplaces still have the opportunity to uh, become universities for those 2 years. What if someone coming into my workplace was also learning, growing,
Yeah.
developing, and for sure, between two workplaces that are equally or equivalently comparable, a person is going to choose the place where they're likely to learn, grow, and develop.
We hope,
Yeah.
unless the other one pays like 3x more.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, this is amazing. I want to ask you. So I hear you saying that the sort of the overall trigger for the course to get started was student depression, on campus, before campus, maybe even alumni depression. Um, and the response came from a set of alumni, a professor who made this course. But what was the inciting incident? Like at some point, somebody must have said, "Let's do this," or "Let's think of this," right? Like how did it come to be?
So Professor Shivakumar, Shiva, Anbudan Shiva, as
Who
we
was my hostel warden, by the way?
Oh, Anbudan Shiva, who, as we call him with affection. For those who don't know, Anbudan Shiva in Tamil translates to Shiva with love. So uh, he was at the time in 2017, he was dean students on campus, and this was his second tenure. And he was already noticing that there was a growing uh, loneliness, students struggle with pressure, expectations, etc., on this campus. And he was probably noticing ahead of time what most other campuses today are also now
Yeah.
aware of. He came at the time, there was a gentleman, Prashant Vasu, one of my mentors and seniors at McKinsey, who was teaching meditation workshops on campus on Saturdays. And so Shiva came to Prashant and said, hey, what if we did something about the struggles that students are going through, the mental health struggles students are going through? You teach meditation, so why don't you brainstorm and come up with something? So it was Prashant's idea that a course that's focused on positivity and happiness could work. At the time, I was quite actively doing the work of leadership development and human transformation at McKinsey. So Prashant came up, and I remember the aisle conversation at office that day, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, where he said, hey, would you be interested in doing something for campus? We are both alums. Prashant is I think he's a 92 alum or a 93 alum. And uh, I said, yeah, sure. And we got into a room with two students from IIT Madras who had just joined McKinsey recently. So the four of us sat and started brainstorming what this would look like. We drew on the research of positive psychology that has come from largely the West right now. In particular, Dr. Martin Seligman, who is considered one of the fathers of positive psychology at UPenn, the University of Pennsylvania, decades of work to show that there is a lot to be learned by studying people who are happy and understanding what their habits and their characteristics are. And one of his students, Sean Acker, who had written a book called The Happiness Advantage, which then became our textbook to understand what's the research in this space, what are the practices and the simple habits that can help us be healthier, happier, more successful. So that was the journey, and the insight was probably that habits are the master key here. The idea that the brain, previously it used to be believed that the brain grows and evolves like this as we become adults and then plateaus. But the last 2.5 decades of research in neuroscience tell us that the brain is actually continuously evolving.
Okay.
And we can rewire our own brain through conscious intention and habitual practice. That's what research tells us. So that was probably the insight that, along with Shiva's discovery of the need for on campus, came together, and with Sean Acker's research helped us begin this journey.
So, and I think after that, many other alumni got involved, and
That's the most amazing thing to me. It's I still can't. It feels like a real miracle, like angels coming together. But when we started, Prashant and I remember we would come to the placement office. They had a room there that they would loan us 25 students in the first semester that we began with. And then Shiva and Prashant had this idea of making this an open, inclusive process. So alums slowly started stepping in. We had Satya Sriram, who coincidentally is a non-alum and a PhD in neuroscience, who came in. Sridhar, who came in after that, who's been an alum and currently the leads the Alumni Affairs Association. So a lot of people who've come in, and over the time we've also included, so the early folks who came in were engineering alums, and all of us came into this course a little like noobs, right? Which is, so what's this mind stuff, and what's this brain stuff, and
let's do a root cause analysis.
Let's just do a root cause analysis. And that's the beauty. There is a logic to inner transformation.
Okay.
There is a logic and reasoning to how transformation works. And so that was the first group, and it was a revelation to them. To your point, I don't know how many of us were depressed as alumni when we came in, but people I speak to today, teaching this course is such a big source of joy for all of us. Joy and fulfillment. Over the last 7 years, at the end of the year, I would always rank what were my top 2 or 3 most joyful, most fulfilling offerings and experiences this year. Teaching happiness, habits, and success at IIT Madras was always consistently in the top 3 every year. And over time, that bench has now also begun to draw, and we are blessed to have younger folks as well as people from a psychology, coaching, neuroscience background. So, a much larger background, more diverse of a pool of facilitators now that we have. And I'm super excited for the future of where this is heading. Our intention is to reach every student on campus.
Very nice. Can I just say this? You started with a 25 people course. Your first course was only 25 people, and now you have 600 people in your course.
Yeah.
I've heard this from someone else. Professor Ravindran, who teaches reinforcement learning, his first reinforcement learning had like 10 students, like 15 years back, and now it has like 600 students.
Wow.
So
Wow.
the kind of explosion, it's interesting because it feels like that many students on campus care about it and think about it, and it's cool.
Amazing.
I've also heard from alumni who have heard the course description and have said, hey, we want to take the course. Has that happened to you?
It has. We actually ran an alum batch, the batch of 1985, who are what, in their late 50s now. During the pandemic, we ran a 4-month online version of the course. And we had such good positive feedback from that group for basically the same reasons. People were so happy that they could come back together and interact with their peers in a different way, not just ask about the, hey, how are you, how's family, work, children, but also how are you?
Yeah.
How are you? 3 decades on from campus, how is everything going within? That was one big reason. And the other was, again, the revelation that, life has now shown me that habits matter. And I now have a way of understanding it and going through it. Having said all that, I do want to add one of the failure modes or challenges with habit building and habit formation is, again, the pressure of, oh my God, like, okay.
Oh yeah, does the course have a grade?
It does have a grade. It does have a grade. However, the course is designed such that it's not relative grading.
Okay.
So we release the pressure of competitiveness from the course structure. But in habit formation, one of the common challenges is I was meditating or I was going to the gym 4 days in a row, 3 weeks, and suddenly last week I didn't go a single day. I've just lost the
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So this idea that um,
So you're competitively trying to force a habit.
yeah, forcing a habit on yourself.
Yeah.
The idea that consistency in habits is equal to 100% 24/7 always on. And this is something I was sharing in the one-on-ones as well, and we share this in the course. um, Consistency in relation to habit building is not 100% all the time. Consistency actually looks like 100% one day, 80% the second day, 94% the third day, 33% the fourth day. Consistency is showing up. It's not being perfect all the time, it's just showing up. So I do also want to acknowledge that it's a very easy, joyful process to
Nice.
find the practices to go through life happily.
Do you have a way to measure the impact of the course?
We do. Right when we began the course, we started with having students do a baseline survey and an endline survey. We use two instruments, which these days I use even in my leadership coaching. The first is called the PSS instrument, Perceived Stress Score. And the second is called the MHWB, the Mental Health and Wellbeing instrument. Both of these are psychologically and statistically well tested instruments, reliable ways to assess. In statistics, I think it's called a Cronbach's alpha score, which measures the validity of an instrument, high Cronbach's alpha scores for these two. We get students to take the survey at the start of the course and then at the end. What we find is that consistently there is a 20 to 30% uptick on how happy, mentally healthy students are feeling and how much lesser stress they are perceiving. So this is, I would say, just the first building block. We are in some way countering the Harvard finding. 20-30% students reporting depression through a course like this, 20-30% uptick in mental health and reduction in stress. There's a lot more that can be done. It requires the resources, the attention.
I understand. If it was 20% down, then to actually get 20% up, you're still at the same level.
Exactly.
If it was 40% up, then it would be.
It would
But
be.
let me ask you a totally different question. And you have a school for transformation, you coach a lot of executives, you meet a lot of people. Do you feel that there's this sense in some people that if I'm happy or empathetic or kind, then my competitiveness becomes less?
Hmm.
Do you think that sort of like that idea exists?
Yeah, it does. There's probably an unconscious script in the collective consciousness of society that kindness makes me weak, empathy makes me less competitive,
Happiness makes me complacent.
happiness makes me complacent, or celebrating success makes me complacent. I was speaking with someone 3 days back, a founder, and he was sharing with me, Sriram, this is a CEO again of a tech company. Sriram, I struggle to appreciate my people, even when they're doing really well. I want to, but I'm so wired to look at what's next and to build the company that I find it almost impossible. And then people feel that they're not being appreciated or they are under recognized. And different organizations have different ways of addressing
As
this.
you're saying this, I remember this so ingrained. I remember my class 10 teacher telling me, I'm not going to congratulate you because next test you'll do badly.
Wow. Starts very early
Very
on,
early,
right?
yeah.
Very early on. It's ingrained in the collective psyche of society. Um, so it's a belief, and the belief that happiness can lead to success, celebration can actually motivate a person to do even better. Empathy can unlock whatever is holding me back, another back, and increase the collective pie, the size of the collective pie. These are also beliefs.
Yeah.
We are the chooser of the beliefs. We are not bound by anyone. We are not making a case of right and wrong here.
Yeah.
We are saying choose what works for you. And if what you want is happiness and success, positivity and profit, success and satisfaction, then choose those beliefs that work for you and operate out of those beliefs.
Sure. I get what you're saying. As I'm saying, I think there's a broader context also. As a country, as a society, we've been moving from a very resource constrained environment to there are more resources now. For example, jobs on campus. There were very, very few jobs on campus earlier. The competitiveness for those jobs was very, very high. Now it's not like everybody gets a 1 crore offer, but at least it's more. It's less competitive, and maybe no, it's less constrained, the resources, and maybe we don't need to behave the way we were behaving when the resources were very little.
Yeah, it's a great point. As you say that, uh, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett's World Philanthropy Tour comes to mind. So, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett went from country to country, meeting billionaires around the world, urging and nudging and goading them to donate part of their wealth to philanthropy. And when they came back to the US, they had actually signed massive commitments. Except from India and China, at least were two significant geographies where they said their discovery was these two geographies are not yet ready. The consciousness in these countries back then not yet ready for the wealthy to part with their wealth. And yes, a lot of wealthy people do philanthropy today. Times are changing, as you say. We are recognizing that India is no longer the we are no longer in the Hindu era.
You are talking about a story that's like 5, maybe 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, 10 years, 10, 12 years. And we've grown and shifted and evolved significantly since even the last decade and a half. Yeah. So you're right. I love the message that it's time for us to wake up and to recognize where India has come as a country and to claim all of the abundance that comes with that spot. Otherwise, we will just be perpetrating and reinforcing our own worldview of scarcity.
Yeah.
Even though we have a lot to celebrate.
Yeah. Scarcity mindset. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I want to just dial back a bit. You started your journey in IIT Madras, computer science, and we are talking of something completely different. We're not even talking of data structures or algorithms or something. So can you give us a, just to tie everything up, can you give us like a short run through of your journey so far?
Sure. So JEE happened, and I came into IIT Madras and took computer science. Uh, I remember the choice to take computer science was uh, inspiration from elder brother. Remember the January of 2003 when we were giving the exam that year. He asked me, if you get the rank of your choice, what department will you take? And I told him without batting an eyelid, I said mechanical. He said, no, if you get the rank of your choice, what department? I said, mechanical. He said, why? I said, because I like drawing. And mechanical engineering has a lot of like drawing and visualizing.
Yeah.
And he basically convinced me that CS was a better idea. He told me, one, that it's engineering drawing. It's not the kind of drawing I've seen you do growing up and enjoy. He asked me what I love. I said, drawing and mathematics. He said CS might be an option. That's how CS happened. Over the 4 years, I tested the waters and became clear to me that this was not my cup of tea. I wasn't flowing, thriving. Something else was calling me, which was working with people. I wanted to be a lot more sleeves rolled up in front of people, conversation, exactly what we are doing today. And by grace, McKinsey happened. Again, that happened. I threw many darts on the board as a fourth year student. I took GRE. I applied. I was beginning to apply for master's programs in colleges. I gave the CAT on a last minute whim. I sat for banking interviews. I sat for consulting interviews. And when McKinsey happened, I just knew, my whole body knew that, yeah, this is it. This is awesome. I'm excited about this. Few years in McKinsey, to your point of straying away again from the beaten path, that didn't give me the joy and fulfillment I was seeking. Uh, at back then, most people who came to McKinsey out of the IITs were going into private equity or venture capital.
Yeah.
And those paths didn't seem exciting for me. I wanted to my vision, continuing to my vision of being a CEO at 35 of a multi-million-dollar company. The fear and regret that I had was, what if I get to 35, do all of this, but I haven't actually impacted society in any way? So I quit McKinsey and I joined a nonprofit called Pratham, the Pratham Education Foundation. They work in rural primary education. And back then they were starting to work in urban slums as well. I spent a year there, convinced me that this was giving me joy. Not sure how it's going to put bread on the table. Uh,
Okay, one second. Can we just Pratham advises the government of India on the state of education in the country, right?
yeah.
And they do these massive surveys. They
Yeah.
called
Asar.
Asar surveys. I was going to say Acer, but okay, Asar surveys, which
It's
basically
intended to have an asar on the state of education.
nice. So the Asar surveys check. So if you read a report in the newspaper saying that class 5 students, so many percentage are able to do class 5 math, so many percentage are only able to do class 3 math. That's an Asar survey data point, right?
Correct, exactly. The what it measures and the most prominent statistic that it brought to light was the percentage of class 5 students who could read a class 1 level paragraph was somewhere between 30 to 50%. I don't know where it falls now, but what they were revealing was, for the quantity of resource and infrastructure that's going into education, the quality of learning outcomes wasn't matching up. And how do we focus on quality in addition to quantity was one big idea. So spent a year there. Pratham is founded by a gentleman called, co-founded by a gentleman called Madhav Chavan, who used to be an assistant professor of chemistry at Virginia University. So to see a person like that do work like this gave me complete confidence that, okay, like any path is possible for anybody, and gave me the courage to say, I'm not going to apply for an MBA, which was the conventional outcome expected of people by then at the stage I was at. I'm going to study economics. And again, I asked myself the question, if I were to devote 2 years of my life to study something, and maybe I wouldn't study again in an institution for the rest of this lifetime, what one subject do I want to learn before I pass on? Was the question I asked myself, and economics came up for some reason. I hadn't studied it on campus, even though there were courses. Went to Harvard, did the Kennedy School of Government. The intention then was join World Bank, United Nations.
Let's just pause there a bit. Kennedy School of Government, not everybody goes there, obviously. From India, that is. So it's not like we've heard a lot about it. So what is the Kennedy School of Government? Who are the alumni? What do they do?
Sure. So the Harvard Kennedy School of Government is Harvard's School of Public Policy and International Development. It attracts people from the governments around the world, as well as people in the development sector, and also people in the private sector who are interested in moving into a career in government or development. So typically the students you'd find on campus there they range from younger folks like me, who had some private sector experience, or had worked in ministries or departments and non-profits, and are here and are wanting to move on to such careers. It also has students in executive education programs who are ex-ministers, ex-army personnel, ex-politicians, ex-bureaucrats. And from India, every year, um, candidates are nominated from both the senior strata of IAS and IPS. So I had fellow students from India who were serving IPS and IAS officers, who are going to upskill themselves and understand, have a more global understanding, and then bring that back to the nation building work. My thought was, I was going to the Kennedy School to join the World Bank. People from those institutions, after speaking with me and understanding the kind of person I am dissuaded me from joining those institutions, because they said, for someone like you who's been through a meritocratic environment, you're not going to enjoy working in a bureaucracy. It's just not going to be your cup of tea. And at that same time, McKinsey in India had opened up its leadership institute, and the partner who had hired me out of IIT some years ago was leading the social sector office for Asia within McKinsey. So it made sense for me to come back to McKinsey. Felt like I could find a path that fits my passions, my purpose, and that's why I came back. I came back to India after my time at Harvard, and then I found my ground in leadership development within McKinsey.
Nice. That's how you got into people development. And
Got into people development. And
I read
then,
some. You've said somewhere that at in all of this, you were one of the first 1,000 subscribers of Headspace. Is that correct?
yeah, it is.
That
It is.
so random.
Yeah, it is. Because this is back in 2011, summer of 2011. I was doing my Harvard internship in Peru, and there was one evening that summer when I came back home, and I was filled, my mind was just bustling with thoughts, confused, in a dilemma, couldn't make sense of anything. And so I went on to Google. I still remember sitting on that sofa after coming back from work, and I typed the query, how to find more space in my mind. And the second result that came up was Headspace. Andy Pudikombe this was this BBC journalist who had gone to Thailand, enamored by Buddhism, had become a Buddhist monk, and had given up his monkhood close to a decade later and come back to Britain to bring meditation to the world. So he had started this fledgling app, and that's where I began. And it actually helped me sow the seeds for the meditation practice that I have today. When I started, it was incredibly hard. I must tell you this, Headspace back then had a program called Take 10. That was their intro program. 10 minutes a day for 10 days. If you completed that, you would graduate to take 20 minutes a day for 20 days, and you'd graduate to take 30 minutes a day for 30 days, and then the advanced 6 levels would unlock. So I got on the app once I came back to Cambridge from Peru, and I thought in a year I'm going to complete all the way up to the top of level 6 and hopefully enlightened by then.
Of course. We have done IIT, McKinsey. How hard can this be?
How hard can enlightenment be after IIT? It took me 1 full year to complete Take 10. It took me 365 days to find 10 days and just 10 minutes each day. And after that, the journey began. I always fall back to that time when I doubt myself or worry about not having done enough on my meditation practice. Yeah.
It's amazing. I know you said that everybody asks you, but I feel like asking you again. Do you use any of your computer science courses in your work?
In my work today, no. The short answer is no. My wife, Anusha, she doubted for the longest time that I was from IIT. So when we shifted houses, I found our degree, and I actually went to her and showed her, look, this proves evidentially that I did graduate with a computer science degree. Um, what I do use from my time at IIT is two things. The first is the understanding of logic as a way of navigating reality. Logic was core to our study of computer science over the 4 years in campus here. And it helped me a lot because I was able to understand for myself that there is a logic to inner transformation. There is a logic to how human consciousness conditions itself and how we become the people that we are today and how we can become the people that we want to be tomorrow. There is a underlying logic and structure to all of this. The word psychology is basically the logic of the psyche. It's the study of the mind. So that's definitely one thing that's helped. The other is, you used the word empathy earlier. Definitely the empathy. I mean, today when I look at people, including and foremost myself, who sometimes struggle to deal with expectation, to deal with pressure, to be on a treadmill, to take every joyful decision and new chapter that we really yearn and hope for, and then we get into the chapter and then we make it a treadmill.
Yeah.
We've become masters at taking joy and making it
Competitive.
competitive.
Gamifying it.
Yeah, gamifying
Yeah.
joy to such a degree that it loses the juice.
Correct.
So-
You got 7 game joy points today.
This laugh was my 8th. So, to along with the logic of how human consciousness evolves, also the empathy for what we as uh, engineers or non-engineers in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, in growing up in India, or for a large part Asia, are going through right now inside, in our minds, in our hearts, in our bodies. So logic and empathy, certainly I would say, have been my gifts that I've received from IIT Madras. And finally, community.
Yeah.
The work that fulfills me, part of the work that fulfills me is the HHS course. And to come back to this campus, it's just amazing. I mean, as I look around this venue also, I don't know if people on camera can actually look behind, but there's a Hyperloop freight transport high-speed device being built by students here. There's 2 rockets in the background there. There's a cross-country solar racing car
And
here.
the facility is paid for by an alumni donation.
Alumni
Just to bring back that earlier point of, HNI is donating.
giving back. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like what happens when we give a bit of what we have. There's a Formula Bharat car in being engineered and built there. So yeah, absolutely. Finding abundance in our lives and helping others find abundance for their lives, ironically and counterintuitively, comes by giving. Abundance comes by giving, not hoarding. Because when we give, we also realize how much actually we do have.
Yeah.
And how much has come about because of some kind soul's intent.
How much we have got from others.
Yeah, how much we.
And on that topic, do you feel like, and because you're a coach also to so many people, do you feel like sometimes people feel like this empathy, happiness thing, I can figure out from books. I don't need to take help from someone else. Do you think that sort of like self-made attitude, or I don't know what it is, but I feel like a lot of people would just close it up saying, this is very personal to me. I don't want to talk to anyone about it. Does that happen?
It does actually. It's one of the barriers to self-growth. One of my mentors, he often says, everyone needs a coach. If you look at champions in any sport, like name a sport and name its champion.
I mean, Virat Kohli.
Virat Kohli. One more.
Pete Sampras. Oh, from the 90s, but okay.
Yeah, one more.
I get your point.
Messi.
Yeah.
In football.
All of them have coaches.
You take any athlete, they don't just have a coach, they have a team of coaches. They have someone looking at their physical conditioning, they have someone looking at their nutrition, they have a mental coach.
But they're at a high performance level. What if I'm not aiming for high performance, I'm aiming for mid performance?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
It's possible, certainly, that life bestows you with the right environment and the right ingredients for you to find your fulfillment by yourself. It's a small percentage. Just looking at empirical statistics from people that I have worked with, it's a small percentage, because the mind can very quickly end up being its own nemesis and echo, because the mind actually doesn't know the answer to happiness. Happiness is not a logical equation to be solved. So you do need someone to mirror you. You do need something to show you a mirror. It could be, to your point, and to what we were saying earlier, that the teachers are everywhere. It could be a coach that you take on. It could be your life partner. It could be your child. It could be your parent. One of my teachers, he says, if you think you're enlightened, just go visit your family again and wait for the triggers to come up that happens in such a situation. What this discussion is pointing to is ask for help when you need it. If you need it, if you become aware that you need the help, ask for it. Maybe it's not a coach for your mental well-being or a therapist that you need. Maybe you need a nutrition coach. Or maybe you need a sounding board for the next startup that you're thinking of building. But building together and leaning on people is the big idea.
It's not a world where, I mean, nobody is really self-made. Everybody has had help from other people, either formal help or informal help.
Yeah, that's true. It's a Buddhist definition or underlying principle of reality, that reality is interdependent. Exactly what you said, which is nobody is self-made. No one has crossed the great waters alone, as one of my teachers would say.
And even a rank 1 at IITM or the top salaried person who got the best job, he's had a lot of help from his family, his peers, his professors.
You're being coached all the time. You just don't know it.
Yeah, you just don't know it. Yeah. I want to end by saying that, first of all, your journey is very inspirational, but your dad's journey is way more inspirational to me. And of course, I've heard you say it before. So can you just say that part and what your dad has been able to do?
Sure. So my dad, after he worked in a bank after he got out of college, and he worked for 3 decades in the State Bank of Mysore. And he quit after 32 years with a voluntary retirement. You remember there was a
VRS schemes.
So he took that and he studied law. At the age of 56, he enrolled as a bachelor's student in an LLB program in Bangalore University and became a lawyer. Then went on to do his diploma at the National Law School in intellectual property. And today he is an advocate with the High Court of Karnataka. And I remember when he decided to make that shift from, so probably the genes or the DNA of going off a beaten path
comes from your dad.
But I remember us as a family dissuading him and saying, "Pa, like you've worked for 32 years.
Why don't
you just relax?
Yeah.
Why are you like going through this?" Because at that time, in 2001, 2003, my brother was studying for JEE. I was studying for my boards, and my dad was studying for his law exam. My mother had it at home. So I remember us telling him, "Pa, like, why are you doing this?" And within few years after graduation, like he turned around and said, like, "Didn't I prove all of you wrong?"
Yeah.
And we acknowledge.
But this idea that life is a lifelong learning process, and you need to lead by curiosity to find yourself, and there's a sense of exploration. Like you shouldn't come and say J rank done or job done and this is who I am, but constantly evolving yourself, building yourself.
Yeah, and if you think about it, all you're doing is you are watering the seeds that have already generated the full-bloomed flower that you are. You got into IIT or JEE because of curiosity. As much as we say, no, I just went and like I did 2 years. If you think about those moments when you and I were like leant over our desk and wondering
burning the midnight
oil, it's actually curiosity to say, oh, like this is how this becomes this.
Yeah.
And so once we come to campus, and that's what I love about facilities like this in IIT Madras, there's so many gardens where you can take your curiosity or sapling of curiosity too. And there are so many gardeners around you. Um, let it bloom. Let a flower, a tree, a garden, a forest of curiosity bloom. And you're right. Yeah, life is. It took me a while, to be honest, to realize that life is constant learning, and there's no sense of arriving, at least for the mind. The heart can arrive and say that, yeah, I am now home. The mind will never understand arrival by the very definition of its functionality. It's constantly moving. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that. And yeah, such gratitude for dad, mom, brother, Anusha today, parents, family, friends, ecosystems. No one is self made.
Yeah, it's a great place to stop. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.